If you snort too much internet, this is where you land. And what a landing it is! Join us in Weird Hills, Episode 9. And we have to start with a bit of an unusual case. We made Yahoo News for one of our Twitter installments of Weird Hills. We're still deciding if Twitter is part of the CritFacts cinematic universe, but until then, please enjoy.
Don't make Star Wars political.
1. Queer characters existing isn't political, and 2. Star Wars is literally in our name.
Number 1. Politics begs to differ. Number 2. Descriptive content, not intent. Number 3. You're the brand rep on a PC managing the Twitter of a company. You suck at marketing by alienating potential customers. Number 4. Star Wars is a Christian story. Anakin is Space Jesus. Thus, why it got wide appeal.
66 fucking thousand likes. Not flexing or anything, I just wish any of our videos had those kinds of numbers. But yeah, here's the story Yahoo News ran on us. Look, Ma, I'm on Yahoo News! On to regularly scheduled nonsense.
So, basically trans people are now stealing 2 identities, the sex they aren't and a gay identity they don't actually have. I don't know how much longer the LGBT community will put up with the TQIA WTF groups. I think that's what's going to break this camel's back. So many have abandoned ship. Look at our pride marches and gay clubs. They've already gone. Try and find a drag show that isn't 14-year-old girls and you'd be lucky.
First of all,
nobody asked for your opinion. Wee-hee!
It feels like these messages are from some alternate universe. A universe where people don't have any autonomy of identity, and where cishet transphobes think they can speak for LGBT plus folks. You'd think that even conservatives would be sick of the LGBTQABCD joke, but gender criticals are here to bring it back. And their big anxiety that they're expressing when they use alphabet people to mock LGBT plus folks is that there will be too many words to describe people. I have the same reaction when I go to the paint section, and there are too many colors. There are only 3 different cones in most people's eyes, so there are only 3 colors. Color is a trinary. Stop with this made up shit like robin's egg or gentle sea foam. You are either red, green, or blue. I'm an adult human paint can, thank you very much. Because obviously someone being gay means that the finite number of gay people slots are being taken up by straight people. Every time a bisexual person calls himself gay, a gold star gay vanishes from existence. Which is why we need strict rules to tell people how they should describe themselves, or else you're doing a thought crime and we'll cancel your free speech. Personally, I love stealing identities. I keep them in my special identity collection. Once I collect all identities, I will be able to capitalize on the concept of identity itself. I will say this though, if many have truly jumped ship, I can hardly feel sorry for them. Mostly because those people will likely be super toxic, exclusionists, and anti-kink at pride people. And I think I speak for most people when I say that the gay community is sick of seeing them. Need I remind you what happens when conservatives try to sanitize a queer event? We get free for all 2022. And God knows we don't want that now, do we? We could do a whole episode on how trash that is. All because some furries got butt mad that we don't let bigots run around the fandom without social consequences. But that's for another video, so moving on.
Now that we've broken the back of the trans beast in the UK, I'm struggling to find the motivation to write. For 6 or 7 years, I was ignored by Eds and ostracised by friends. Seeing opinions shift is great, but I feel worn out. Off for a bit. I'll be back with more unpopular opinions soon. You're being way too optimistic. Trans is just the vanguard for the whole wave of man-made posture and horrors beyond our comprehension. Enjoy your break. We're going to need all your energy.
What is it with the broken back motive in these tweets? Must be a strange coincidence, but it sure underscores the vile hatred they have of trans people and their rights. It's almost like they hate trans people for existing and want to violently end us all. The whole idea that trans people are some sort of beast, some dragon of old, a transhuman horror like they are the Grineer from Warframe, is just dehumanization, for the point of making trans people into this big bad. Essentially, Joe and Mary here want to treat trans people like how the Red Scare conservatives treated the war on communism, or how the Teutonic Knights treated anyone who had the wrong version of a prayer. An enemy to be destroyed and their bodies displayed.
Protest all you want. People aren't saying you can't protest. They're saying, no, you can't have everything you ask for. Dress like silly anime girls if you want to, but you don't get to beat up women on sports fields or expose yourself in the locker room.
How do you feel about cis women beating up other cis women in sports, and cis women exposing themselves in the locker room?
As to the former, real women rarely have the capacity to cause severe injury to other women through casual contact during play, the way men can, even if they wear dresses. As for the latter, actual women can't wag their penises in girls' faces for reasons obvious to biologists.
Here's another one of those misogynistic sport takes that GCs seem to love so much. Here's a hint to any GCs watching. When your ideology relies on biology as being essential, i.e. you need a certain biological configuration to be considered a certain identity, you're basically arguing in favor of patriarchal perceptions of womanhood from the get-go. The patriarchy relies on viewing women as fundamentally different, lesser men, and therefore having a different place where they should be in society from the superior class of men. See also this wonderful thread by Scientific American for a more in-depth explanation. It's also why the patriarchy hates trans people as a whole, because we buck this trend of classifying people into boxes of binary identities, and many of us decide that we'd rather just not reproduce, and even modify our bodies in ways that we know will preclude us from reproduction. Because freedom! Gah! That's horrible. Oh god. That's my impression of an eagle, everyone. Interesting fact. In the 20th century, feminism fought against this biological essentialism. The interwar era was full of feminists talking about how they are more than just baby factories. GCs argue that being a baby factory is the main goal and the sole point of being a woman. And if people are not constantly pressured to reproduce, then mankind somehow dies out. Or more likely gets replaced by the wrong sort of people. Another thing from the interwar era. Almost like the GC movement is just another lich of old crawling out of the graveyard of history.
Sounds like a deranged male preparing the conditions he would present as defence in court when accused of abusing an innocent kid. A sane man would come up with millions of options to find a way to feed a kid before turning the kid into a tool for some disgusting perversion.
Like what? Stuffing dirt down their throat?
Your ignorance has no limits. Throughout history, men cared for their families, cultivated, hunted, even at times fought with rivals to feed their offspring. The twisted fantasies you come up with belong with deranged minds in the need of excuses for child abuse. Get treated.
This is hilarious. Most hunters were not the primary food givers of the family. Hate to break it to you. When a hunt was successful, it was a feast, yes, but how often do you think hunts were successful?
GCs constantly try to reinvent a binary, the same sexist rules they claim gender exemplifies, while not solving them. In fact, they are so historically backwards, they go back to the Stone Age, after it turned out other time periods make them seem weird. The fact that they started the "transition is child abuse" talk after the bans in Florida is not a coincidence. I would like to point out that if you start your argument with a scenario that appeals to human hunter-gatherers hunting the mammoth during the Stone Age, you've already lost the argument before it even began. Sorry, that's just modern political debates 101.
I'm an edgelord with less than 200 followers too, so you're saying anything I say carries weight and is representative of me, but the trans edgelords isn't representative of your community. Interesting and definitely not a hilariously hypocritical take.
Salient exemplar taking to the extremes, especially because CritFacts is obviously not some edgelord. I'm non-binary for a start, and I work for a living. I would never charge people to use my edginess according to their need. Abolish edgelords! Let everyone have an edge of their own! Also, just in case you forgot about the Curtis Tripp guy, he's the guy who basically told a trans person on Twitter to kill herself and then told her he thinks trans suicide statistics are funny to him.
41%? Is that a threat? Just a reminder.
Are you telling me to kill myself? Because that would be very bad for you.
No, just reminding you that you're very likely to do it statistically speaking, and I think that's funny.
Oh, but let's not let that carry weight, huh? He also started an organization with a man called Donovan Klecki, and then got both their asses handed to them in a live debate with Jangle's Science Lad. Link in the doodly-doo. I'm not sure if he's still on Twitter nowadays. I hear that he has a sock account still up, but besides that, I'm pretty sure he's condemned to the Substack mines like the other anti-trans dipshits, which is at least somewhat reassuring.
And everything was lovely once again. Wonderful.
A teapot is intended to hold tea. If it's cracked and can no longer hold tea, it's still a teapot. You can fix the crack if it's fixable, or simply display the teapot as a beautiful art piece. The teapot is biological sex. The crack is intersexness, deformity, and menopause.
Hold on. What the fuck? Oof, this one is cringe. Let's say this once more. You are not broken as a person if you cannot reproduce. You are not made to make babies, because you're a person and you do not owe anyone reproduction. Therefore, you are not failing your function if you do not or cannot reproduce. Biological sex is not a teapot.
No, you're not!
As long as people involved are enthusiastically consenting, let people be happy.
Enthusiastically consenting. Fuck off with that shit. Keep fucking off and fuck off some more. Do you think people accidentally rape other people?
I'm really not sure why this person is attacking me so aggressively over when sex happens, it should be because all participants want it to happen. That being said, I have a hunch that it has something to do with GCs believing that pregnant people cannot consent to deliver a baby for anybody but themselves. There is a certain biting irony about seeing a so-called feminist activist group being so passionate about removing the ability for females to consent, and instead asserting that since, in their mind, the cis woman in question cannot consent, therefore she must have been raped. It's like a typical patriarchal talking point, but with a shoddy faux feminist paint job. They might as well straight up yell, "Hush female, I'm speaking for you," as they remove their rights. Also, Trickster in this screenshot is a very adamant MRA and has since gotten his account banned for harassing lots of people. Good job, MRAs. I hope you all get banned.
As someone who used to clean women's toilets, why do you assume it's the men who left urine on the seats? Also the same question for the hair.
If you're such an expert, you will know there is a different splash pattern. Not to mention, they smell different.
I can't believe this person just totally admitted to huffing piss and being such a connoisseur of urine that they think they can differentiate accurately based on piss alone. Huh, weird flex. I actually got curious and googled it, and it turns out medical students were only able to guess this correctly 1 in 5 attempts, more or less. In before feminine urine is rehypnol, I can't believe these people are trying to do piss phrenology. Thanks for ruining my browser search history yet again though.
What human rights do trans people not currently enjoy?
Right.
They are a demand, not rights.
Seems like you have not read that. Please confirm that you are not a semi-automata.
I have read it. It is a list of demands.
Yes! We demand our rights! You're finally getting it! In Before TERFs claimed that women's rights and feminism mostly consisted of women gently asking all the men if they could get some basic human rights as well.
We talked a while ago before. Does this person look transgender to you? He is Olympic athlete Frederick Wilt, my maternal granddad.
Looks like it.
Is it possible that he was Jewish instead of trans though? Some of the futures on supposedly trans FTMs might be Jewish, like elf-shaped ears.
Wait, what the fuck? Elf-shaped ears? HRT gives you pointy ears now? Of all these so-called hazardous HRT side effects, this is definitely one I've never heard of before. So this is anti-Semitic because it's trying to normalize anti-Semitic stereotypes about how Jewish people look. When really, Jewish people can look however the hell they want because everyone should get to decide how they look for themselves. But like, is this person trans or just Jewish was not a comparison I expected personally. Then again, GCs never fail to disappoint. Yet again, more evidence that Nazi rhetoric is the inevitable goal of biological essentialism.
So many of us are aware of the manipulations, we're so bloody over it. I've literally no more fucks to give as far as they're concerned. The gloves are off. Come for women and children's rights and you are my enemy. We will fight for our rights so we will win. I'd love to know who
They
really are.
You know what? We're just gonna plug PhilosophyTube's video about anti-Semitism and our own video about the overlap between transphobia and anti-Semitism. It's very easy to just not infer weird conspiracy nonsense about religious groups or trans people, or any other demographic.
What's there to say? Access to abortions were a necessary casualty in the fight against erasure. Stop talking for and over women. We have a job to do.
Losing rights is a key part of the battle to preserve our rights. Brilliant! She really thinks she has more of a right to hate trans people than to bodily autonomy. I guess you have to come up with some way to justify the results of your anti-feminist nonsense when you're cosplaying as a feminist. Talk about complete brainworms. I think the contents of this person's head is officially more worm than brain at this point.
Can I just say, I love the sex realist GC movement. The patience and the frustration, the facts and the memes and the sharing of absurdities, the recognition we find in each other and our despair over this crazy world, the value we see in truth over niceness. I love it to bits.
What truth, Karen? The fact that you can't seem to decide which part of somebody's biological sex is a determining factor in policing gendered spaces? The memes that you basically steal from 4chan and other such online incel hotbeds? The recognition of knowing that there are other transphobes out there who are just as obsessed and out of touch with modern society as you are? The strange jovial nature of this tweet and the fact that she had to go out of her way to specify that she loves her own movement so much kinda suggests that there's a coping mechanism at play here, if you ask me. It has a similar energy as those ex-gay people who seemingly have to state at least once a week how happy they are about being saved from a life of degeneracy. Yuck.
The employer was held responsible after taking advice from Stonewall. Why would any responsible employer now continue to take advice from Stonewall?
Oh, Debbie, as this house of cards come down, it would be awful to see the backlash against LGB/T people. There's the amazing alliance LGB, but it's a good idea to have a sex realist T-org. Thank you for always standing up for women, children and reality.
Yeah, trying to take up the mantle of thing realist. I genuinely thought nobody would be foolish enough to do it in public for everyone to see after race realist was so easily spotted and called out for what it was. Weird hill to die on, but at least you're dead.
I actually think that feminism has gone too far in lots of ways. Notably, the idea that there are no differences between men and women, which has been an idea in feminism not just liberal third wave, for many decades now. The denigration of motherhood. The idea that casual sex is good for women. The idea that men hate us and that we will always be victims. Feminist ideas certainly led me, personally, along some destructive paths when I was younger. I was a good feminist, and it messed me up.
Couldn't agree more. I don't feel like a victim, but society tells me I am all the time. Just because I'm female.
Ending this episode with a shit Mumsnet take, because this shit is inevitable right here. I agreed with civil rights until they wanted too many rights, and now I feel inconvenienced by the changes we have to make to have a fair society. You see this with everything. Anti-racism has gone too far, now it's just code for anti-white, they said. I'm just a race realist was code for I believe the lies of racism but don't want to admit that this makes me a racist. Feminism has gone too far. Now I'm a sex realist. The more likely truth is that you were probably never a feminist to begin with. We talk a lot about the radicalization pipeline on this channel, and stuff like this is exactly why. It's comments like this that basically function as tools for bringing people into right-wing fundamentalist movements. It's a way of telling people feminism doesn't work. Don't believe me? I used to be one, and it messed me up. Whether the conclusion of the assertion leads to political homelessness or outright acceptance of far-right ideologies, the result is the same: the rejection of progressivism. It's the first step towards radicalization. Once you get somebody to reject the fruits of leftist principles, they're a political blank slate that other people can now easily imprint their ideology onto. Update: as we were finalizing the script, we got two more that we just can't help but share. First, we have this garbage.
J.K. Rowling really could have just remained a wealthy, beloved author for the rest of her life, and she chose Twitter instead. Incredible.
And Rosa Parks could have just sat at the back of a bus for a quiet life. You've embarrassed yourself with this tweet and don't even know it.
And then this. Buckle up.
It's amazing to see how the progressive left views J.K. Rowling, a single mum, lifelong leftist who has donated millions to charity. All it took was for her to blaspheme against one, just one, of their sacred commandments, and she immediately became their enemy. Wow.
Leaving aside the fact that being bigoted against just one minority group is still bigotry, she has always been a neoliberal fascist enabler who's pro-slavery, anti-Semitic, racist, Islamophobic, ableist and homophobic, along with her transphobia.
We start off with an opinion that is pretty strong, but reasonable in my opinion. Strong but reasonable, my foot. I am 100% correct, and everything I said in that tweet is 100% right, and I'm willing to die on this hit. Oh.
Really curious to see a source for the pro-slavery claim.
She has a whole chattel slavery is preferable for the slaves actually subplot in her books. Come on.
You think I've read her books? It would be nice to have an example from reality instead of fiction though.
And then we get Cup of Ban Evasion here saying that glorifying portrayals of chattel slavery is not indicative of trying to normalize slavery or downplay its harms, which is already a weird hill to die on. Fiction has been part of culture and ethics since the Iliad.
So is George Lucas pro-slavery too then?
You mean the slavery that is systemically shown as negative and bad and slaves actively want to be freed? Contrary to HP, where the slaves are said to be happier enslaved and where the liberation movement is thoroughly mocked.
You think this was shown as negative and bad?
And the fucker kept going.
You think this is positive? She's literally used against her will as a sex object and she literally kills Jabba for it. Please become a better person, you're a creep.
Seems to me she was glorified in this outfit from literally every Star Wars fan in the galaxy. At GC Misogyny, this is one for you, I think.
Blame George Lucas and billions of horny Star Wars fans for glorifying her. Don't shoot the messenger.
She literally kills Jabba later on, in the same section of the movie for it, with the literal chain used to chain her to him with. And prior to the aforementioned killing of Jabba, it's shown as a horrible situation. Nerd card revoked.
And this was before or after millions of 17-year-olds jerked themselves off.
Like, the moral standard of goodness isn't based on what minors masturbate to, creep. And I would provide commentary on this one, but hot damn, someone already nailed it for us.
A woman in a bikini. Okay. A woman forced into a bikini and chained up against her will in a place completely unfamiliar to her. Not okay. How is this complicated to you?
I do love it when our content writes itself. That's enough brain rot for today. We hope you had fun, and if you found this video enjoyable or useful, consider giving this channel a like, subscribing to the video, and buying our Patreon. Seriously though, the names you see on the screen right now make our content possible, and we are very grateful for that. We're a team of people working to help counteract transphobia, and your support helps us grow and keep making these videos. We'll see you next time. Don't let gender hit you on the way out. Hello everyone, Persephone here. Hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you liked my narration of it. If you didn't hate my voice and want to hear more of it, I have a YouTube channel of my own called Pretty Serious Persephone, where I make in-depth video game reviews and essays. My Broken Sword series is a good place to start. And soon I'll also be uploading video essays on board games such as Everdell and Wingspan, where I will also talk about their digital counterparts. So if that sounds interesting to you, head over to my channel and subscribe. After you subscribe to this channel, of course. And if you'd like to read my personal ramblings, you can follow me on Twitter at PSPersephone. Hope you have a great day.